Once you have completed your estimate in McCormick and won your job, it is very easy to transfer that to the foundation budget. All you have to do is click on the foundation export.
When I click on this brings up the foundation export window. This is going to allow me to set up a little bit of configuration for how we want the data to be sent over to foundation to make sure that we're talking about apples to apples. McCormick has an idea of cost codes, foundation has an idea of cost codes, but those might not necessarily line up. So this is where essentially we're tying that in. So this is going to allow our clients to have the flexibility to configure their systems in different ways, but then still allow them to talk to one another. So they don't have to be completely one-to-one when they're set up, but when they actually transfer over, it'll convert it and make it into the format the foundation needs. So there's a button I'm clicking on now called Budget Export Settings. When that comes up, there's two different lines for defining what a cost code is and what a phase is. Not all of our clients are going to be phase. Some of them might not have phases at all, so they would probably just be setting this to default, which would just default to 1. If they do have phases, they're likely going to set it up to label, and they're going to choose a label from the drop-down that I'm showing, and they would say which of their labels corresponds to the what they're using as phases in foundation. So for instance, if they're using different buildings or different floors as their phases in foundation, we're doing buildings, they would select buildings here, and then they come here to the set button, and that brings up the list of buildings that are in this particular job, and it allows them to define how do they want it to be sent over to foundation. So there's a column called export values, and this is where they can define what they want their phase ID to be, whether that's 1, 2, 3, or whether they're using some sort of letters. This is what it's going to come over to foundation as. And likewise, there's also a column for export description. This is going to be the description of the phase when it comes over to foundation. If those phases don't exist when they come to foundation, they'll be created. I'm going to close that window, and I'm also going to look at the cost code line then. So how do they want to define what their cost codes are? So they have a few different options for the source. There is label, which maybe their labels tie to what they're using in foundation for cost codes. There's something called item specs, because they can actually create an item spec in McCormick called cost code. Default, which would just export everything as 1 or whatever value they have set. Or breakout. Likely they're going to want to pick breakout. The breakout is going to be tied to their item spec of cost code more than likely. So this is going to allow them to use that breakout value that they had when they were in extension, and they saw it by cost code, and then they sent it over to bit summary, and they saw the breakouts in bit summary by different breakouts. And now we're sending that over to foundation, and the different breakouts then become the cost codes. Click on the list for set. So this, again, allows me to define what do we want the IDs to come over to foundation as. There's a checkbox for only display use cost codes, which that would display all the cost codes that we have available in the system. I'm going to close our budget export setting. That all looks good to me right now. So that's going to be all the setup that they're going to have to do. This should be remembered for next time so they don't have to configure it every single time. Alt1 was the one that I had created earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that to queue. Now that's queued up, it's ready to go, and then I'm going to click on the transfer button. So the transfer button, what this does is this goes ahead and it's sending the information then to cloud storage, so that way it can be retrieved from foundation. So that has completed now. So that's it for McCormick. That's all we have to do. So from foundation, we're at the main menu here. I'm going to go into job costing maintenance. I'll click on jobs next. I'll pull up job 1025 in order to add the budget. So now I have a button here for import from McCormick. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And that's going to show me my list of estimates that I sent over from McCormick. I'll find the latest one that I sent here. It's this one. Hit mapping. This mapping screen allows us to do the final piece of it, is where we're mapping our cost classes. So in McCormick, I have different tabs at the bottom, a bid summary for labor, material, direct job expenses, and this is where I'm allowed to then define what cost class that aligns with in foundation. Once I hit import, all the magic happens, and it goes ahead and it's going to populate the budgets tab for us. So this would be just like we were manually importing that, or manually entering the budget ourselves. Come back here to budgets. So now we have our phase of building A and the cost code of 4,000 for that. And then I can flip through my cost codes to see the different costs associated with that. And then go to different phases and see the different costs associated with that one. At that point, we're all done. We've done our estimate. We've exported it to the cloud. We brought it into Foundation. And now that the Foundation accounting side is ready to go, their budget is set up, and they're ready to run the job just like they normally would and tracking their costs normally.